Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Anime Review Podcast in live form.
I have a very bad feeling about this.
Oh, God. If that's going to become the tagline of this show, the Anime Review Podcast, I have a very bad feeling about this. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Oh, you were born in a slime, molded by it. Yeah, that's what we're doing, is Bane voices from so long ago. Awesome. My name is Ezra Block.
And I am Jacqueline Block.
This is Jacqueline Block, my sister, and we're going to be reviewing That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. So, first off, let's write down the things that we liked. Well, I'll go with you first, because you picked this show. Why don't you give me some of your Jackie's pros?
Well, I thought it was pretty funny.
Okay.
And
funny.
I thought it was engaging to see the character of Rimuru get get some power and
so you like
be
the
a nice
action
guy.
parts?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Action, engaging, story, I guess. Sure. Character development. Okay. So for me, so I didn't know exactly what to expect when you told me about this podcast. Sorry, when you told me about this podcast, I refused to be on it. When you told me about this show, I thought like, oh, he's gonna turn into a slime girl, isn't he? And it's gonna be some weird fantasy, and then he's gonna, use his slime powers to have sex with people.
He never has sex.
Okay.
In the anime.
Yeah. I was beginning to pick up on the fact that it seems like he might be asexual.
Not asexual, but possibly aromantic. Since he states in the first scene that he doesn't have a girlfriend, but he's fine with that. But he's very much interested in girls. He also
right, and then in the yeah, I was gonna say, because in the second episode he also says like, oh, if I could turn invisible, there's so many pervy things I could do, and then him asking his friend to destroy the hard drive makes me think he had a bunch of porn.
So. It also makes me think that there are a lot of references to him
hoarding porn.
Yeah.
Porting.
And the other thing I was going to say was that when he gets his human form, he's sexless, and despite being able to change that, he does not.
Okay, so I think that's an interesting character perspective.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, like, there aren't that many shows which have aromantic leads.
Yeah.
That's all that I mean.
That's fair.
The other thing is, I'd say the animation is very high quality.
Yeah, remember that time when the human tucked his pants and sat down? That was so smooth.
I wasn't paying that close attention, so I didn't pick up on that specific detail, I'm afraid. But I did like all the, like him drifting through the ether. A lot of, like, psychedelic imagery is what I would call it.
Yeah, the visuals from the Great Sage.
Right. And then I am a big nerd, so I do like video game references, leveling up. The whole thing seems kind of like an MMO, so I did like that. Before we get to the, I just realized that we might have been doing this in the wrong order, but before we start listing any cons we might have with the program, why don't you, Jackie, give us a brief breakdown of what happens in this program?
Right. So this guy, he's really horny, right? And then he gets stabbed by some asshole meth addict.
Does he get... Hold on. Is he really horny?
You just wait. And then he gets reincarnated. And there's this video game voice that's like, I'm going to give you superpowers. And the guy is like, what? And then he comes back and he's all blobby and gross. But he's also blue. and then he finds a dragon and they make friends. And then he eats the dragon.
Yeah.
And then he leaves the cave. He was in a cave.
Oh yeah, you forgot to mention that he starts out in a cave.
Yeah.
It actually literally shows him like grinding, like just collecting a bunch of herbs and ore, which is what you spend most of your time doing in an RPG.
In early levels.
No, just in general, it's what you spend most of your time doing. Trust me, I've played enough MMOs to know. 20% combat, 30% travel, 50% gathering.
It is an interesting setting because it's very aware that it's styled after MMOs. It's very video game based, and at first I thought, well, that was it. But then it sort of became like the game program was the mythology of this world, and that fascinated me. That they were sort of becoming each other.
It's metatextual, is that what you're...
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I definitely liked it better than like Sword Art Online, which is another thing where it's obviously an RPG, but in that case the people are like...
It's an actual video game.
Yeah, in that case it's an actual video game, so there's no... there's not the same sense of like things having lives or value. Like the NPCs in Sword Art Online. I don't know. I didn't watch enough of Sword Art Online to say, but
There aren't a lot of NPCs.
Right, it didn't feel like a real world, is what I would say.
Okay.
This feels more like a real world. The other thing is, I'm interested by... Maybe you can give me a hint as to where this is going. Apologize for the yawn.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can give me a hint as to where this is going, but I got the impression that the humans can't sense the magic the way that the monsters can. Like, they can't see it floating through the air.
What's your question?
So, I'm getting the impression that maybe the humans view the monsters, like in classical RPG terms, as just being like things for them to kill to gain power. But then the monsters themselves might be integral to some kind of like cosmic magical plot.
Well, I believe we're still going to do the segment where we theorize how it's going to
Where
go.
it's going?
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
All right. I can hold off then if you don't want to reveal that stuff. Sure. But yeah, I just in the first two episodes were pretty low key, which I guess I liked. I thought there would be more of him like interacting with adventurers, and like I thought it'd be kind of like a power fantasy in that way, where he's kicking the ass of all of these people.
Yeah.
Who would normally expect him to be powerless.
That does happen later. But most of the first season is him interacting with other monsters, like the goblins and the dire wolves. And later there are ogres, orcs, lizard people.
Cool. Okay, so let's go through the cons, and then we'll go to the theorizing session, like you said, and what we want to see out of the series. And then we'll wrap it up by rating this son of a bitch. So, I guess I'll go first since I went last. As far as the dialogue.
Are you going to scroll down?
Can you not see the cons?
Not on the live feed.
Well, thank you for telling me that. I can do this. How about that? I made the document less. I made it smaller. I demagnified it. Does that allow you to see it or no?
I see no change.
Okay. Maybe it doesn't have that kind of dynamic capability. How about now?
I see that you put it in bold. It zoomed out a little.
Oh, you're on a delay. That's right. Okay, so in OBS, yeah, you can see the cons as well now, so it should be.
All right, yeah.
It should be
Scroll
showing
down now.
Great. So, in terms of the dialogue, I liked how the interaction with the dragon felt very like it was reminiscent of something that would happen in like Little Witch Academia, or
A similar thing does happen in Little Witch Academia, where a dragon is sort of a lone shark, and he
yeah, I know, I watched that episode with you.
right.
Yeah, no, but I mean like having the monsters be kind of like sympathetic and wimpy, almost to like Undertale levels, a little bit less charming maybe, but
It's less charming than Undertale's.
well, yes, almost everything is less charming than Undertale. Also, it's not Undertale's, Jackie, it's Undertale.
You said Undertale's first.
No, I didn't.
Mm.
You might have misheard me, but that doesn't mean I said it. I will leap across this desk and throttle you. Anyway, the point that I was trying to get to was that most of the dialogue for the non-human characters feels natural, with the exception of the main character, Rimuru. Right?
Right. He screams a lot.
Yeah. He's the prototypical hyperactive anime protagonist.
Right. But he screams a lot less later on.
Oh, okay. So
Which-
he mellows out.
Yeah. It's possible that was intentional, that he was more hyperactive just because he was in a new world. And when he gets used to it, he calms down.
Well, that's nice to know. Because I was going to say, it's not as bad as...
Sword Art Online.
No, I was going to say it's not as bad as the guy from One Piece, whose name I can't remember.
Monkey D. Luffy.
Monkey D. Luffy, yeah. If you're a fan of One Piece, then you will not be a fan of... Yeah, what?
You are going to hell.
That's true, but you won't be you won't like us, is the point. That when we reviewed that particular series, we had less than cordial things to say about it. That's how I'll leave it at that. Yeah, and then the other thing was like the catchphrases he would shout out, like Bazinga or something he said at one point. And then
you're the bomb.com.
You're the bomb.com. Yeah, that was another one. That was pretty annoying. The whole thing though was like sort of nonsensical enough that it was enjoyable because it was just so absurd. But I don't know if I'd be able to watch it for like a whole season if he's shouting out bomb.com every episode, is how I would put that. So, and then the other thing, so the main character is a little bit annoying.
He's also meant to be sort of a dork, that he reads a lot of manga, and so he compares what he does to a lot of fiction.
Yeah, I picked that up, especially when he referenced Pokemon.
He references Pokemon a lot.
Now, we've not yet reviewed Pokemon on the show, and God willing, we never will. But
we've reviewed Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's true. Well, because I'm not gonna come up with some. For a second, I was gonna be like, well, because Yu-Gi-Oh is obviously better, but now I'm not gonna come up with some kind of justification for it. Yeah, that was what an episode that was. The other thing is the dialogue between the humans seemed very stilted to me.
Right.
Like in the second episode, they introduced these two human characters. One of them's the head of this guild. He's got like a big old scar on his face. He's a sort of old man, but in like a badass kind of way. And then the other guy is like a bureaucrat with a mustache, and he's like, "You gotta go to the forest and make sure these monsters aren't like. We gotta secure ourselves." But the whole conversation just felt like completely like paper thin to me.
Right. Well, there are no human main characters,
Okay.
at least early on. So it's probable that they just didn't invest much in their characterization and cared more about the main characters. And there are a lot of characters in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like an epic fantasy thing, right?
Mhm.
How many seasons are there?
It's hard to tell.
What do you? What the hell does that mean? You mean like it got rebooted multiple times, like Sword Art Online?
No. And SAO never got rebooted. It had sequels
Jackie,
and spin-offs.
Jackie, don't you even start with me.
What I mean is there are. Have you heard of an OVA?
I think I mean, the term rings a bell, but I don't know what it is.
Right. They're essentially just filler episodes. They're made to show interactions between the characters that have no consequence toward the plot. So there's a season of filler episodes.
Okay. There's a season of filler episodes.
Right. Just to show the characters having fun, as you don't. It's not.
So like.
Required to watch. What are you saying?
Well, I was gonna say like the kind of thing that used to happen on Adventure Time all the time, where they'd have an episode about a side character.
Yeah. Yeah, like that.
Okay. So wait, why is it hard to tell if you mean because that might not count as part of the actual series?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
But as far as I know, there are at least 2 seasons.
Mm.
Right.
Okay. Do you have any cons that you would like to list, or anything different from me? Do you have any?
I think it suffers a lot of the same problems that many anime suffer. Possibly just because this is an homage to many different anime genres. There's the shonen fantasy. There's the reincarnation. There's the
I didn't know, by the way, that okay. So
and sometimes it's even an intrigue plot. So a lot of different things go on, and so a lot of different tropes happen that irk me.
Oh, okay. So from a story perspective, it's not what's the phrase? It's not consistent in terms of tone or genre, maybe.
I suppose there's a couple fight scenes that are slowed to a halt by the dialogue, where they just stop fighting each other so they can talk to each other.
Oh,
the dialogue. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect their interaction. They're just talking to each other.
It's the Dragon Ball Z thing where I'm going to talk to you in the middle of this battle.
Right. And that would be fine if, it had a consequence at all.
Okay, so pointless dialogue.
Yeah.
Dialogue. Great. Okay. Well, that's interesting. So a couple of things. First off,
okay.
but no, you go on,
all right,
and I'll say my piece when you're done.
I dislike the fan service. There are a few too many women in skimpy clothes.
Okay, because that didn't show up in the first 2 episodes, really.
Okay. Yes,
because there were no female characters. But from the title sequence, it looked like there's a number of female characters who are going to show up later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a couple of them are just in underwear. They're just wearing underwear all the time.
Do they have the thing where there's like a female warrior in a metal bikini or something like that?
Not a metal bikini, as far as I remember. One of them wears a sort of a pantsuit.
Okay.
It's open because she has really big boobs.
Okay.
So it shows a lot of cleavage.
Sure.
One of them, I mean, it looked a lot like just a really skimpy swimsuit. And one of them wears like a thong, just a thong.
Right. Sure.
And like not a big skimpy bra like that. That's mostly covered. Yeah. But she's just wearing a thong.
Okay. Sure. So a couple of things stood out to me when you're listing your cons. The first thing is we have done a lot of anime on this show. I didn't know that transformation was a genre.
I don't think it is. I think it's a trope.
It's a trope. Right. So, like, Sailor Moon, would that be part of the transformation genre, or?
Well, Sailor Moon.
Oh no, reincarnation. That's what you were saying.
Yes.
I didn't know that being reincarnated was a trope in anime.
Right. Do you know about isekai?
No.
Okay. Isekai means other world. It's whatever any anime that involves a character going to a different world than they're from. It's been very overused. So this being a self-aware anime is a bit refreshing because people are aware of the writers are aware of what tropes are so often used and what cliches there are.
Right. Although but it sounds like they still use a lot of tropes which might be distasteful or boring to you.
Yeah. But it's engaging enough that I don't mind that much.
You got the difference between satire and parody there. If it was more satirical, then it would probably not have a bunch of skimpily dressed women dancing around. So that was one thing, is that that's interesting to me, because I'd love to see. I think I'd love to find more anime that have reincarnation elements in them.
Oh yeah?
Well, I'm very interested in mysticism, and I know that you're a big fan of like religion and mythology. So that's something that if there are more like that, that could be interesting, especially because it's a very there's a lot of meat on the bone in a story about a person being in the wrong body or in a totally different body and having to adapt.
The common method of someone getting reincarnated into a fantasy world is getting run over by a truck. So there's a lot of memes about the truck that runs people over.
Oh, okay.
Typically dying in a car crash is referred to in anime as getting isekai'd.
Oh, okay. I thought that for some reason I thought you were gonna say like the typical way that you get reincarnated is you get stabbed with an incredibly long knife, which, by the way, we began debating while we were watching this. When we were watching this, I insisted that knife was not the knife which kills the main character, was not a Bowie knife, because I've been to the Santa Maria Alamo Museum, and they have a case there which has Bowie knives of a variety of sizes. That none of them were as big as the knife that is used to kill this man, which goes straight through his abdomen, by the way, in the first episode.
Well, it's an animation. It doesn't have to be realistic.
It's such a bizarre thing, because maybe you can tell me this, because we're about to go into the theorizing portion of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so do we ever find out why that guy was running with that knife?
No, we. In fact, the anime never shows the human world again.
Okay, so the last we saw of it was that guy dumping the hard drive into the bathtub at the end of the
flashback
episode.
where someone asks him for help and he decides to help them.
So that flashback, which happens in the second episode, that's the last flashback to the human world he has?
It's the last one I recall. There's also, other...
Because I figured that would be every episode he's going to have a memory of a time in his life in the human world when he did something good or he didn't do something good. It's going to remind him to be a good person or something like that. But it sounds like, no, that was just an incongruous detail which they threw in for...
No. Yeah, his character development is more about him letting go of his humanity and accepting that he is now a monster. But he also interacts with other... people from the human world, and there's mentions of the human world there.
Oh, okay. Oh, because the other worlders come from the human world, so that's how he... Okay, interesting. Well, that is also strange to me, because in the title sequence, he has a human form.
Right.
So...
What do you mean?
Well, you were talking about, it's about him accepting he's not a human anymore.
Right.
It seems like he's going to devour a human at some point and gain the ability to mimic their body.
What's your point?
Those two things just seem a little contradictory to me, is all.
Well, there are a lot of monsters who have humanoid forms. It's just easier to interact with people that way.
Mm. So like for instance, are there any dragons which show up as hot women at some point?
Later, eventually. As Veltora said, there are only 4 true dragons in this world.
Only 4. Oh, interesting. Okay, so let's get onto it because we've already entered into the theorizing stage. And it'll just be me theorizing because you've already seen the whole season, or
Yeah.
so you already know what happens. But you talked about the harem trope showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean there's going to be a bunch of ladies who want to bang this slime boy?
Yeah. I mean, not too many.
Okay.
It seems to be mostly these 2 women who are like his secretary and some other thing. Or handmaiden or caretaker or something.
He has a secretary.
A secretary, yeah.
Is she the one in the pantsuit?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so there's going to be, because he's a romantic, there's not going to be any of that mushy romance stuff. It's just going to be him as a slime perving on hot girls, is what you're saying. Does he use his slime powers to perv on people?
No.
Okay.
But he goes to a brothels and all the prostitutes are really into him because he's
made of slime,
yeah.
right? Yeah, of course. That's the one thing that every woman wants. I apologize. It's just going to be us laughing at the ludicrousness of this.
Just give me your theories about what's going to happen. Stop it! Stop. We have to get through the podcast.
Okay, you're right. We've already taken too long. Okay, so so in the title sequence, there's a whole thing with the woman, the divine warrior, or whatever she's called, the blessed warrior.
I don't remember what her.
She's the
title
lady who traps the dragon
about, but
in the imprisonment field.
her having.
Just let me finish, please. Jesus Christ. Okay, so there's a whole sequence where she shows up and you see her with the mask on and then her without the mask looking back at herself with the mask. Mm-hmm. And also they said in the in one of the episodes, the dragon explained that she had been summoned by mages and that she's like enslaved by them. Like she's super powerful, but because they summoned her through this ritual, she has to do what they say. So I'm guessing, and then also in the title sequence, there's this red-haired king guy with red eyes sitting on a throne. You don't remember that?
I'm gonna have to think about that for a while.
Okay. There's a guy with red eyes, and he's like sitting on a throne, and he's got the like evil smirk. He smirks evilly right at the end of the title sequence. So it seems like he's going to be the main bad guy in the series. So I'm guessing that what's going to happen is he's somehow responsible for enslaving this the blessed warrior. And then when Rimuru,
Yeah.
when Rimuru messes up his plans for like starting a war between these two countries or whatever, he's going to send her, the blessed warrior, out to find Rimuru and cut him up into little slime chunks. But then what's going to happen is Rimuru is going to maybe the mask is the thing that is like some indication of the mind control over her. So Rimuru is going to help her remove the mask, and then she's going to be free from him. And then she's going to help him, Rimuru, defeat the king. And I'm guessing the king is secretly a dragon in disguise because you mentioned there being 4 major dragons. So one of them has to be the villain.
Cool.
So you don't have to confirm any of that, but judging from the look on your face, it seemed like I was hitting on some things which might happen.
You hit on some stuff.
Come on, Jackie.
What?
Come on.
Do you want me to confirm?
I mean, we're probably not going to watch the series again. Not if there's going to be ads for the
Acura anime.
the Acura anime. Not if there's going to be 5 of the same Acura anime ads every time it goes to break. I'm not fine with ads, but I don't like it when it's the same ad over and over again.
It was multiple ads. It was just for the same.
Yeah,
thing.
it was they were differently cut, but they were for the same product. Do you think the Acura anime should be the next thing we review on the anime review podcast?
I don't want to think about it.
Okay, so those are my main theories. Are that Blessed Warrior is conflicted, maybe enslaved. Red-haired king is secretly evil dragon. And then the dragon Veldora, he shows up in the title sequence as well, so I'm guessing he's going to be released maybe by the end of the first season. They're going to figure out a way to break him out of his eternal imprisonment. In fact, that could tie in. It could be he saves the Blessed Warrior. He breaks free their mind control on her, and in return she releases the dragon, because they've both been imprisoned by circumstances beyond their control.
And they sort of imprisoned each other.
I mean, no, but sure.
but what if the Blessed Warrior was only summoned because of Veldora?
Yeah, I assume she was.
Right. So it's kind of like she was imprisoned because of him, and then he was imprisoned because of her.
Mind control. Right. Get free from mind control. Well, hold on, because the start of the first episode, we see town being burned down, and there's a little girl running, and she calls out for her mom, and then a flame tornado wraps around her, and she disappears into flame, which makes me think that maybe she was the Blessed Warrior. The summoning ritual transformed her into this, from a little girl into this powerful warrior entity. So literally their lives have been destroyed by each other.
Yeah. You want to know why that town was on fire?
It was because of the dragon, presumably. I assume that was the town that he was burning down.
I mean, okay, if you think so.
Go ahead, tell me, why was it on fire?
No, keep your theories. You're not going to watch the video. You're not going to watch the rest of the anime anyway.
Hold on, if I'm not going to watch the rest of it, then you should spoil it for me. You're using the reverse of what the logic should be.
No, keep theorizing. I don't want to tell you anything.
And releases Veldora from his imprisonment spell.
So what do you think is going to happen with the Goblin Village?
It seems like I don't know. It seems like it seems like he's going to save them from the wolves, and then maybe either a greater scope villain is going to show up to destroy the town, thus instigating the rest of the plot, or they swore loyalty to him, so maybe he's going to become the leader of this small kingdom of monsters. I remember you telling me something about that when I was researching the show. There was something about him building a kingdom of monsters, gaining allies. So
that's certainly possible.
You've transformed. You've made this the worst part of the podcast. Refusing to answer any questions means that it's just me supposing things into existence.
What do you want to know?
Okay. Does he become the leader of his own kingdom?
Yes. He forms the Jura Tempest nation, and he bases it on the tenets kindness toward other races and pacifism.
Oh,
Right. And
ironic because he murdered all those creatures to gain their powers. But yeah.
he unites other races of monsters under this nation.
Oh, so maybe he's not gonna. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say maybe he doesn't kill the direwolves. Then he like absorbs their pack leader, and then he can control all of them with his like howling.
That's quite a theory. Do you want to?
You have the worst poker face of all time, by the way. Okay, no, but that's interesting because in the first episode, the dragon tells him, Feldora says, "In this world, it's what does he say? He says like you have to survival of the fittest is what he says, right?" And I was going to make a reference to Undertale because in Undertale, the first thing you encounter is Flowey, who says this world is kill or be killed. He tries to force the player character to become a murderer, basically.
Right.
So this seems like a similar thing, maybe where the character ends up creating this new reign of peace and maybe refusing to kill the evil characters.
Come to think of it,
Yeah.
he actually does kill a lot of people.
Oh, okay. So the pacifism thing is just that's just for people who aren't in charge then.
No, well, he learned the lesson. Like, pacifism wasn't working out.
Oh,
so
okay.
he resorted to
Oh, I see.
devouring an entire army.
So like he builds the kingdom off of kindness and pacifism, and then like the evil king, who's definitely a dragon, swoops down and destroys a bunch of stuff, and then he has to kill him. So he becomes a dark and gritty anti-hero, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I guess. I guess that happens.
Well, that's pretty cool. Especially since he won't be cracking as many jokes based on what you said.
He still says you're the bomb.com.
Oh, okay. All right.
Are you accusing me of bamboozling your daughter?
I don't know what that's a reference to.
He said that at one point. Like, you seduced my daughter. He thinks I bamboozled his daughter.
Oh, so when you say that, you're referencing an episode I haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Of a show I've barely watched.
Yeah.
Wonderful. You know, you're the reason why people hate anime. Okay, so we're done with the theorizing. I think what I would want to see from the show is definitely a lesson about, like... Because in RPGs... So, like, in something like D&D, you have the concept of a murder hobo. And you have that because there's supposed to be an engaging story and, like, a reason why you're doing the things you're doing. You're not just murdering things for the fun of it. But in most, like, RPGs, most MMOs, you are just murdering things because it makes you more powerful. Because the story itself is completely, like... secondary, irrelevant to you leveling up. So I imagine I would like there to be some kind of lesson about that. And it's the same thing that happened in Undertale. But I would like that where the most powerful humans in this world are like living out their power fantasy and just murdering indiscriminately, and they've like solipsistically completely made themselves devoid of empathy towards the things which actually live here.
Right. But RPGs also punish you for pacifism, for trying to avoid any conflict.
Mm.
Because that inevitably leads to the attackers having the advantage by not being challenged by you, not being taken on. So I think getting into that sort of philosophical bent to it, like you're describing, would benefit. I think that would make the show very engaging. And then the other thing I think that I would like to see is What would you like to see, Ezra?
I don't know. It's having the character, having him like talk about like absorbing something into his body,
Yeah.
like a plant, for instance.
Yeah.
It's a sort of interesting concept as well from a artistic standpoint, because there aren't a lot of pieces of art which explore that kind of narrative. So I would probably, if there was more like that where it emphasizes the sort of differences between his character now and him being a human, or where he's reached sort of like godlike levels of power and he's sort of examining what existence is, that would definitely make it more interesting.
Right. And the great sage thing, the voice in his head, eventually levels up and starts speaking more fluently, expressing emotion, becoming more articulate as an entity. So what I'd like to see is learning about the great sage as a character, about their perspective of things.
Okay, so what we'd like to see is Lovecraftian evil humans from another dimension, murder hobos, examining pacifism versus aggression. You said so for what you said, AI, self-awareness, and then changes to the nature of being alive.
Interesting.
Okay. Now I think it's time to rate this bad boy, so I'm gonna flip us over to. Let me look at this. Look at this screen capture. Jackie.
What?
You're making me seem more pathetic.
Ezra. Ezra,
Yes.
there's no one else here.
No, I know, but if you had it, if just no one had shown up, it would be fine. But you showing up draws attention to the point that no one has shown up, which. Hold on, I'm trying to. Oh, there it is. Excel spreadsheet. Okay.
But I showed up, Ezra. I'm watching the stream. I'm your biggest fan.
It was me, Austin. It was me all along. Okay, the thing is complete. Hold on, just need to rearrange this. There we go. Okay.
So it looks like nothing.
Yeah, I know, but it'll be fixed in a second. Okay, I got to it. Is the point. Now, so we talked about Sword Art Online in this. I would definitely put it above that. Where is it? Okay. I would definitely put it above.
Star Wars Visions.
I wasn't thinking that high. I was thinking above FLCL because it had similar concepts of like
Absurdity.
Yeah, like similar levels of like absurdity and maybe sort of mocking or parody, I would say.
What about Sherlock Hound? Is it better than Sherlock Hound?
Probably not.
No. Sherlock Hound is pretty good.
I don't think any of the characters are remotely as likable as the characters in Sherlock Hound. But they are not as annoying as some of the characters in FLCL. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna pop it in there. So current highest is still Neon Evangelion Genesis, soon to be knocked off by the Akira anime for sure. When we cover that episode, it'll for sure be the top rated anime of the podcast. Okay, so hold on. This was that time I got reincarnated as a slime. And then still at the bottom of our list, even lower than One Piece, is A Lull in the Sea.
A Lull by the Sea.
A lull, but well, I have it written as A Lull in the Sea, so I will.
By the sea.
Okay, I'll fix it if that's what you want. A Lull by the Sea. There you go.
Maybe it was in the sea. I'll have to check.
Yeah, you wouldn't remember, would you? Because it was a terrible, terrible show. Do not watch A Lull by the Sea, by the way. Anyone who's listening to this, do not watch A Lull by the Sea. I would rather you watch One Piece. And remember when we used to watch Uran Host Club?
I believe that was one of the first anime I introduced you to.
Yeah. No wonder I hate anime. It's all your fault, Jackie.
See, at the time, I thought that was one of the good ones.
Yeah. Well, yes, we were still like children then, so of course, your tastes hadn't yet matured, but still.
There were a couple funny jokes in it.
Thank you again for watching the Anime Review Podcast. Thank you for tuning in for our live show, Absolutely Nobody. And
but I'm here, Ezra.
This stream will be available on the channel Dogs in the Water as a VOD for anybody who'd like to go back through it. In the meantime, have a great life. And don't watch Lull by the Sea. Oh, and everybody dump your hard drives into water for sure.
Right.
Get rid of that porn.
Yeah. Cover all that porn.
Do you think that there's anyone who's been like in their will, like, you have to destroy my heart? Do you think that's happened yet? I mean, I know that, so like Terry Pratchett, he had like, oh, you have to destroy my hard drive after I'm dead so that they can't make posthumous collaborations with my ideas. But do you think there's anybody who's been like, you have to destroy my hard drive because I can't let certain things get out after I'm dead?
Did you say Kafka?
No, I was talking about Terry Pratchett.
Well, I know that Kafka.
Yeah, Kafka also, he
asked for
instructed
his friend to destroy his
all
stories.
his stories, and his friend decided not to because he was a real friend.
We just punched both our chests.
Yeah. I think it was a similar thing with H.P. Lovecraft where all of his writings were going to be like thrown away, but Frank Belknap Long like drove all the way across the country after H.P. Lovecraft was dead to like seize them before they could be thrown into the furnace. And I mean, whether or not you believe that's a good thing or not, I mean, I suppose it is a good thing, but it also led to August Derleth making some of the worst stories ever that have H.P. Lovecraft's name attached to them. Posthumous collaboration.
You don't like August Derleth, huh?
Yes, I despise August Derleth.
I didn't know this.
He represents everything I hate in the publishing industry.
What do you hate about him?
Well, he took the work of he took ideas that H.P. Lovecraft had written down, like something is found by the ocean, or like a tower calls to a young man, and then he wrote a 40-page story based off of that prompt, and then he put down as the author H.P. Lovecraft in collaboration with August Derleth. Yeah.
Wait.
August Derleth was a massive boob. He also created the Soul Pawn series. Do you know about that?
No.
It takes place in the same universe as Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes novels, and with characters who are almost identical to Sherlock Holmes and Dr. James Watson, but are legally separate. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that August Derleth did. He spent his whole career ripping off other people's ideas.
But it's good that he gave them credit, right?
I mean, no, because he gave H.P. Lovecraft credit on something that he would be ashamed to have ever had published. He did some good stuff too in his life, but mostly he was just a jerk, a parasitic fiend who fed off of other people's work.
But didn't he, expand the mythos and...
Yeah, he made it worse. He made it worse when he expanded the mythos. he tried to set order to it to make it like the J.R.R. Tolkien style like world building, and in the process he took out any of the like mystery or intrigue to it.
But he created Ithaqua, the Windwalker. Don't you know about Ithaqua?
Thanks again for watching the Anime Review Podcast. For our next episode, we'll for sure do the Akira anime.